President Muhammadu Buhari has approved $8.5 million for the evacuation of Nigerians from Ukraine. About 5,000 Nigerian students have been affected by the ongoing war in Eastern European countries. The Nigerian government had expressed desires to evacuate its citizens in Ukraine. Well, joining us to discuss this is public affairs analyst Sonny Obi Maduka and former special advisor to the River State Governor Opunabo Inko Taria. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mariam.
Great.
Good evening, Nigeria.
The biggest question on everybody's mind is why did it have to take so long for the Nigerian government to decide on evacuation of some Nigerians? I'm going to start with you, Opunabo. I mean, you've worked in government, so you'd try to help us understand why government had to drag its feet on this matter.
Well, Marianne, a lot of force. It doesn't come as a surprise because we have a government that is listless when it comes to the welfare of Nigerians. I mean, I have a plethora of examples to give to bolster my assertion. A government that plays havoc with the lives of Nigerians, even within the country. Otherwise, countries like Ghana evacuated their citizens, I think the last fact was just even yesterday, and we are talking of evacuating Nigerians from Ukraine today, and the president is just approving. I will tell you the value placed on human lives, especially in this country. We have a government that is not sensitive to the plight of Nigerians, and that is just the reason. Otherwise, notwithstanding the danger that these Nigerian citizens and students are facing in everything, even look at the Electoral Act, in everything, the president has said it, he can psychologically everything. He's tired. And so governance means nothing to him anymore. It's as simple as that.
Interesting. Let me come to you, Dr. Maduka. It's interesting that Opunabo seems to be blaming the government's feet dragging on Mr. President. But then Mr. President is just one person. Yes, he is the commander-in-chief, but then we do have legislators. These are people who supposedly are representing the interests of the average Nigerian, and it took them this long to also come up with ideas on how to push Mr. President to get to give a nod for the evacuation in the first instance. So can we solely place this blame at the feet of Mr. President only?
Yeah, I think Tara has just said it. The entirety of whatever we're going through is right on the president's table. The president is our father. So as a father of a nation, every of your citizens matters. And unfortunately, this is only a country that the president doesn't care. As of now, he has jetted out to UK for 2 weeks, whatever you call it, medical checkup. A time that your children are dying, a time your children are suffering. As a father, you're supposed to have empathy. This is a time that you, instead of you traveling, why don't you get these physicians back to this country? And I was looking at the president, when he was going, and there was no remorse, nothing that showed that this father is going to lose some of his children abroad. You see, it's unfortunate. Look at it this way. We are approving 8.5 million right now. This money wouldn't have been up to this if we had been proactive. But just like Tara said, we're always reacting to issues. This war didn't start today. There was notice. Many countries were we are doing something. America evacuated. A lot of countries evacuated. What happened to a country called Nigeria? In fact, it was even appalling that the minister of wondering. I'm still waiting because let me tell you, believing this government is like saying, like I said it before, it's like saying that tomorrow we are going to the moon. This government has always come on lying spree. Yet they said about petroleum, we know what is happening today.
I think we're having connection issues there with you, Dr. Maduka. We'll try again to see if we can connect with you. But back to you, Opunabo. There are claims that there are some Nigerians who didn't want to go anywhere. They didn't want to come back to Nigeria. And there's still people who still do not want to be evacuated to Nigeria. Some are saying, look, you know what? Send us to Russia. In fact, we hear that about 150 of them are looking to be evacuated into Russia instead of coming back to Nigeria. So could it also be that people would rather, go to Poland or neighboring countries other than Nigeria, maybe because of reasons best known to them? And again, why would people not want to come home to Nigeria? Because most of these people are students.
Let's not be economical with the truth. It has nothing to do with reasons best known to them. It has to do with reasons best known to Nigerians and the world.
What could be those reasons?
There's despondency, there's diffidence in the system. A lot of people have lost, not just because they don't like Nigeria, it's because it's the reality. There is so much hunger. The country, as we speak right now, is rudderless. Now you can imagine other countries have been evacuating. They've made frantic efforts to evacuate their citizens. What has happened to Nigeria? The ambassador in Ukraine told them that they must have to defend themselves. How ridiculous and insensitive can a man be? It was after the criticism that they have to retract that statement. So, in such a country where there is no hope, if you come back to this, a lot of them don't have hope. If we had sound educational system, they wouldn't have traveled abroad to Ukraine. What are they going to do in Ukraine? Not even in America, not even in Britain, not even in Canada, but Ukraine. Most of them let this country out of frustration. So what are they coming back here to do? And as bad as Russia could be in terms of leadership style, leadership paradigm, it is better than Nigeria. If they are not segregated again, I tell you they'll have a better life in Russia. Because here, what I come back to, no life. Most of them can't even pay their fees. They can't even feed. It's frustrating living in this country. Very frustrating living in this country. So are
you saying that Nigerians would rather die in a war-torn country or a country that is about to face war than come home to a peaceful country where there's no war?
Relatively peaceful. When they say Russia is not war-torn, that's why they say, they are going back to Russia.
I was making reference to Ukraine, not necessarily Russia.
Ukraine is war-torn, but not Russia. Ukraine is war-torn, but not Russia. And because there are so many places in Russia, I don't think Russia is going to be touched. The Ukrainians are just trying to defend their territory here. Most of them don't want to come back. And it is simple, like I said. Poverty level. Apart from the poverty level, despondency. When there is hope, there is life. To a lot of them, no hope. Even those that are here they strongly believe that ideal war might not fester complex and difficult ways. So they want to remain there. They don't want to come back here.
Okay.
It's actually a case of between the devil and the WC. That is just the situation that they found themselves.
Let me go back to Dr. Maduka. I hope that we have Dr. Maduka back. Let's cast our minds back to some of the things that have happened over the years in terms of Nigerians in other countries. We've seen cases of Nigerians being killed in other countries. We had the issues of xenophobia in South Africa. We saw that young lady that was killed in a prison I can't remember the country now. We've seen several cases. We've seen a Nigerian official, a director in our public service, who died in a hotel room in South Africa, and till today we're yet to uncover how that woman died in that hotel room, even though the pointers showed that she was killed, not like she went to sleep and then she didn't wake up. We've seen several cases where Nigerians could have been saved, but half the time we always show up last minute or as an afterthought. And many people are also saying that this situation in Ukraine was an afterthought. I mean, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, a former member of the National Assembly, Ben Morris Bruce, had said, we have so many millionaires in this country and billionaires. why can't they send aircrafts to those countries to evacuate these Nigerians? I mean, and I'm guessing that these Nigerians would want to go to any other country, or every country of their choosing. I mean, Ukraine is bordered by a lot of these countries. But I want to ask, how did we get to a point? Because both of you seem to be in agreement that this particular government is not necessarily placing value on Nigerian lives. But can we say that, can we say any different about other governments that we've had? I mean, as opposed to this government of President Muhammadu Buhari, or are we just giving a dog a bad name?
Well, if you start from 1970s, you discover that Nigeria that was when we got...
Dr. Maduka, okay. I think that we're having...
Okay, let me change my
Okay.
Let me change my...
All right, Opunabo, just go ahead.
Marianne, what was the question? In the opening statement, or the opening statement, or the second one, when you said, why do we have to blame the president when you have the National Assembly? The president is the one that will give the go-ahead. The National Assembly cannot. It is not within the right of the National Assembly. It is the exclusive preserve of Mr. President to order, because when it has to do with the release of funds for the purpose. But if it has to do with humanitarian, if it's on humanitarian ground, what's this? Airpeace did it in the past in South Africa. Turkish has also been engaged to carry out the same function. That is on humanitarian grounds. And you talked of Ben Bruce saying we have billionaires. What of Ben Bruce? What role did he play?
Is he a billionaire? Do you categorize him as a billionaire? Is he a billionaire?
That is it. That is it.
No. Whether he's a billionaire or not, the question has what role did he play other than criticizing the billionaires?
Exactly my point. Can you hear me now?
You must not be a billionaire to play a role. What role did he play? How much did he contribute? Because these planes are going to buy fuel. So what was his contribution? Not just to sit down to vilify. These people are carrying out humanitarian jobs. They are not I tell you what FPs did in South Africa. They have to be commended. So it is not just to sit down there and castigate this character, billionaires. What did they stop him from becoming a billionaire?
Okay.
What role did he play?
Okay.
What is his own contribution?
Can you hear me now?
All right. I think the doctor is back. Let's listen to what the doctor has to say. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I started with as at 1970 and 1980s. Nigeria benefited from what you call giant of Africa. You mentioned South Africa, you mentioned other countries. Recently, last year or 2 years ago, Ghana demolished our embassy. Ghana hoarded our people, our children, and
I don't think that happened in Ghana. It happened in one of the francophone countries where we were.
It's in Ghana. It's in Ghana.
Well, I think in the DRC or one of those francophone countries, our embassy was also
Ghana.
Sacked. Yes. But go ahead.
It's in Ghana. It happened in Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and probably Niger Republic or whatever. Your country is dependent, or the value of your country is dependent on the leadership. Today, as just Tara said, no Nigeria is worth dying to this country because they are not living because they love it. As I can tell you, as at 1970s, 80s, most Germans, most Ukrainians, most Americans, they were coming to Nigeria to study. And we have the best of academics. What happened? Because we have leaders who are selfish, self-centered, greedy. And unfortunately, Africa is just there as a continent, not adding value to the world economy or whatever. To me, Africa is a liability because they've not found their potential in their self-worth. Inferiority complex is still believing Africans. So until we come to the position whereby we can sit down and say, African, what do you do? And how do we do that? Maybe that's what I can tell you. Let me just give you some few things I just thought about that African can do. Africa can come up with a common currency. That is what they can start with. They can come up with a common economic bloc. We have 1.3 billion Africans, and we have a big market that we can use to even
But we have the AU, and I mean we have the ECOWAS. How productive have those blocs been, whether they be economic or not? How productive have they been as blocs on their own? I'm talking about the ECOWAS, which is for West Africa, and the AU, which is, you know, for all the African countries. Before we even consider a national, a unifying currency, how unified are we as Africans? I was just seeing, I've seen a lot of messages on social media about how black people, black Africans are treated in countries like Mozambique, in Mauritius, in Tanzania when they arrive, as opposed to people who have a different color of skin. So really, I don't know how getting a joint currency or forming another bloc other than what we have is going to solve our problems. I'm wondering.
Against racism. That is now the opium of what we are seeing in this war, Russia-Ukrainian war. It is racist. We have seen it. But what are AU doing? They are keeping mute. There must be economic viability of every economy, whereby every persons are looking and seeing.
I'm sorry, again, I think we're having little issues with your connection, Doctor. But let me come back to Opunabo because we do not have too much time. Opunabo, Doctor has already set the pace for the issue, on the issue of racism. We saw videos. I mean, this morning I saw a video of a Nigerian woman, if I'm not mistaken, on the BBC, you know, recanting her experience at one of the borders, I think in Poland, where they said to her, no black people have to walk, literally. So only Ukrainians were allowed to go on the buses. They were allowed to gain entry. You would see people with white skin climbing over the fence and nobody would stop them. But if a black person was pushing forward, they would push back. And when we keep talking about these issues of racism, I go back to what I said to him. Africans are being also profiled by Africans in the African continent or on the African continent. So what effrontery or temerity do we have to challenge the white person in Europe who is also being racist amidst the wartime? I mean, I've also heard stories of people saying that even our Nigerian embassy was asking us to show our COVID results to be able to get any attention whatsoever. So how do we even defeat the problems that is us as Africa? How do we deal with ourselves before we can even turn to the man on another continent?
Marianne, we are consumed. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We are consumed in the very smoke with bell stuff. It's all about perception. The question is, how is your own president or fellow African treating you?
Yeah.
I mean, if your own president or fellow African is dehumanizing you, how do you expect the world to respect you? It's a question of perception. And again, it has to do with credibility. Unfortunately, most Nigerians, when they leave the shores of this country, let me not say most, let's say about 50% get involved in illegal activity. And so every African is being watched with a jaundiced eye. The possibility of him committing a crime. Every country is battling with criminality, and they don't want it to be aggravated, especially by external persons and external forces. Because you have crime in every society. And so they want to reduce it, mitigate it. But they are suspicious. Now, you also said that even the embassy in Poland